guys. Nah, di sini guys. Nanti boleh ikutin langkah-langkah yang ada di sini. Sini. Di sini. Langkah-langkahnya ya guys. Teman-teman. Yuk. Oke guys, yuk nanti masuk kemari guys, ke akun ini, ke caranya. Klik langganan dulu ya, Oke. Oke guys, mana nih? Teman-teman. Oke. Yuk. Yuk, guys, teman-teman. Mamalia jatuh. Boleh kembali teman-teman. Oke guys. Yo guys, udah gabung guys, teman-teman udah gabung semua. Di sini baru live lagi ya, tadi lopet. Udah gabung guys, yuk masuk ke channel merah kita dulu yuk, saya sudah live yuk. Tinggal gabung aja, masuk subscribe, like, komen, nanti bisa masuk ke situ guys. Yuk, baru tap di share, di komen, di follow ya guys. Thank you, Maman Dani. Kasih banyak. Yuk. Come on. Yuk guys. Bergabung guys. Bang bagi link. Guys, teman-teman masuk ke channel merah saya dulu ke YT yuk. Ini lagi live. Ke YT saya bagi live. YouTube ya, masuk subscribe, like di situ, komen di situ guys. YT-nya Viewpoint Official, sama dia namanya sama sini akun saya. Viewpoint Official, saya live di situ juga. Masuk ke situ, klik subscribe, cara linknya dapat. Oke, aman. Hadir Bang Mark. Oke, siap. Siap Bang. Mana ya? Siap Bang. Izin guys masuk dulu langganan di situ ya guys, teman-teman ya, teman-teman semua ya. Yuk, udah mau mulai guys. Acosta, kita lihat pembalasan kita sama Acosta. Kita ganti. Kita lihat dulu pembalasannya sama Acosta. Udah guys teman-teman, ini dong, makasih mawarnya Bang Utama, terima kasih banyak. Guys, izin yang udah gabung, teman-teman boleh ini ya, berlangganan ya, klik langganan di YT ya. Saya komen dulu ya di sini ya.
This is his first Sunday race experience. It's early October over in Mandalika. What about his teammate Pecco Bagnaia, looking to actually see a Grand Prix checkered flag for the first time since, I can't believe I'm saying this, he won the Japanese Grand Prix in Motegi on September the 28th. Trying to stop rather an alarming decline, isn't he, Bagnaia? He did not finish any of the last 5 Grand Prix in 2025. All we were hearing through pre-season was that Pecco
Yuk. Guys, teman-teman udah gabung yuk. DM udah ya Bang, DM Bang. Tapi di subscribe dulu ya guys, di subscribe dulu ya. Di subscribe dulu guys, di subscribe. Di subscribe, di
feels like he's got an uphill task ahead of him to even get into the top 6 this afternoon, never mind the podium that we were predicting for him before the weekend began. Francesco Venturato, Marco Bezzecchi's crew chief there with some late words of encouragement, a late embrace. You've got the pace, you've got the potential, let's now take this opportunity. 2 Aprili's on the front row of the grid with Raul Fernandez, 3rd in the sprint, 3rd on the grid for this Grand Prix. Marcmarquez, the winner
guys, udah masuk nih.
12 months ago, that was the
Besarin
platform
layarnya Bang.
to win that
Abang dah kalau mau masuk nonton videonya full videonya, abang masuk ke YT saya dulu, Viewpoint Official. Ke YT channel merah saya, Viewpoint Official. Di situ yuk. Nanti dari situ abang bisa masuk gambarnya. Habis di situ izin teman-teman boleh bersedekah 5K aja, klik langganan. Oke Bang, bisa. Nggak bisa nih kayaknya. Siap, bikin lagi deh. Gimana Abang Amel udah paham caranya masuknya? Thank you love-nya, makasih banyak. Bang yang udah gabung izin ya bang, maksudnya gimana sih? Abang udah masuk bang ke YT kita, udah subscribe. Kalau sudah, di situ ada caranya masuk ke MG. Tapi sebelum abang mau dapat linknya, izin bang boleh bersedekah 5 kali dulu untuk berlangganan di YT kita, klik langganan di YT kita. Kalau boleh bang, tapi kalau enggak ya udah DM aja nggak apa-apa, bisa kasih bang.
Stage has welcomed the biggest ever Buriram crowd. Once again, MotoGP fans have delivered across the 4.
Ayo guys, sudah mau dimulai. Ayo.
28,228 fans to be precise have joined us throughout our opening Grand Prix weekend of the season. Yesterday, a huge sprint Saturday crowd.
DMG kita.
A classic. What a way it was to start the new campaign as Pedro Acosta took his first ever MotoGP success in what was one of the most talked about sprints we've had in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yuk guys, sudah.
Your engines, gentlemen, more of the same, please. After
Sudah teman-teman.
epic sprint, Pedro Acosta then leading the World Championship for the first time as MotoGP. No KTM rider has ever done that previously. KTM though are winless in a dry MotoGP race since Catalunya all the way back in 2021. A big day for Brazil. Diogo Moreira's Grand Prix debut MotoGP, first Brazilian in the top class.
Ayo guys, udah guys, masuk ke YT kita, tengah. Oke bang, yuk, masuk ke YT kita. Izin klik langganan dulu ya guys, cepet bang, ya klik langganan dulu di YT kita, baru DM IG kita. Baru DM IG, ayo.
Thank you Thailand. Thank you.
Udah dimulai lah bang, abang kelamaan.
You have brought the party to our first Grand Prix of 22 in 2026. Got the party, but who's going to be
udah WhatsApp lah guys, gambarnya gimana bang? Bang, abang udah, thank you laporannya. Abang masuk ke channel merah saya dulu, channel merah YT kita, boleh official, gabung di situ bang, klik langganan di situ, yuk, baru DM IG. Ya udah di situ, yuk, coba guys. Come on. Udah WhatsApp lah.
On sprint Saturday, he rolls up to pit lane. He's been rolling through the gravel track far too often so far this weekend. He's liking it for a put his liking, but can he get the
Ayo guys, nanti tolong caranya gimana masuk ke viewpoint official YT kita, channel merah YouTube. Saya live di situ. Bagi linknya di DM IG. Ayo.
Here we go, then the first big 25-point haul for grabs in 2026. It's lights out and we're racing in MotoGP.
Sudah dilepas guys. Thank you Bang Orena, makasih banyak Bang Dedi, makasih banyak. Come on yuk, gabung dulu ke channel merah kita.
In P3, Fabio Di Giannantonio looking to already turn 3 drive early on here as Martin tries to attack Fernandez. On down into 3.
Martin was the fast starter. Acosta is pretty much where he was, still in 6th place. He's sandwiched between Di Giannantonio and Alex Marquez. And Alex Marquez is going to nerf the championship leader aside.
Yeah, that's Acosta then down 1 place, 6 into 7th. The field just about a bit of a melee further back. We've got safety.
Ayo guys, sudah gabung guys. Gimana caranya Bang Rama masuk ke channel merah kita, viewpoint official YouTube, kemudian subscribe, like, kemudian langganan ya guys. Nanti linknya masuk ke DMG, saya live di situ.
Frankie Morbidelli is way down the order.
Come on.
Poor start once again for the VR46 racing rider.
Fernandez has carved through on Marquez through the right-hander of turn 7. We heard
Marquez ketiga. Apa yang terjadi?
A little bit short of peak condition. Ralph Fernandez through to second.
He's established an early lead here of almost 0.8 of a second. We saw yesterday he just bit up a little bit more than he could chew in the early part of the sprint with the early exit. But look at this from Bezzecchi. He's flying away from the field. Now Martin, we've got a brilliant 1, 2, 3 to complete our first Grand Prix lap in 2026.
Martin Breu. Martin menggeber.
Into the first corner, but for a few split seconds.
Masuk channel YT guys, channel itu kita viewpoint official, sama dia namanya tulisannya YT official. Langsung berlangganan di situ.
Martin attacking the rider who replaced him as world champion.
We've got our 2024, Jorge Martin back, haven't we, in full operational functioning mode right now. This is the best we've seen by a mile from Martin on that factory in front of him. He said, trust me, I've lost none of the edge, none of the talent, I just need to be fit. And I'm back at the front to always kept as far as the 89 is concerned. He's still there in fourth.
Pedro Acosta is back into fifth. He cleared Alex Marquez before the end of that first lap. Three company eyes up another one into ninth. He's now
Ayo bang, demikinya bang, demikinya yuk. Bang bara-bara, baru masuk ya bang ya? Bang Anthony, bukan gak jelas bang, cepat demikinya bang, saya bagikan. Tengok di atas sini bang, di atas sini bang, tengok bang. Ayo udah gabung guys, saya sudah masuk dalam bang Anthony. Ya DMG bang, Anton, bang Siondi, masuk ke DMG bang. Saya lihat bang, cepat bang.
Fernandez took a quarter of a second out of him in the third sector of this lap. We're on board then with Pedro Acosta. This is the battle for fifth place. We are now riding on.
Cepat bang, linknya saya nggak dapat bang, bang Anthony. Bang.
Acosta wants to be, because in this group, in this battle, what you're going to be contending with here is a front tire temperature and pressure that is going to go into orbit. We spoke to a few riders yesterday who said mid-pack and sprint.
Udah bang, DMG dulu bang. Ayo yang udah DMG tadi udah berlangganan. Jadi mulai, udah mulai, udah lap ketiga bro. Nanti ketinggalan lah bang dah, aduh, gimana saya mau kasih link abang. Bang Anthony, Mario Aji naik berapa? Mario Aji jatuh dari marcmarquez bang, Mario Aji. Sekarang gantian bang, ini udah MotoGP bang. Sorry bang, kalau di layar di situ bang, kena PL lagi kita bang, kena PL. Sirkuitnya di Thailand. Sorry ya bang, nanti nggak bisa kena bang, pelanggaran bang. Izin langganan dulu ya bang,
This has a Valencia feel to it, doesn't it, at the moment? Bezzecchi versus Fernandez.
Still very, very early days, only about 2:26, but Marquez, at this stage at least, does not have an answer to the pace the Aprilia. He's already 2 seconds off the race lead.
Bang Angga nih, bang siapa bang Angga?
Looking to attack again. Acosta certainly attacking. This is the corner where he made all sorts of headlines yesterday, and Acosta cleared Di Giannantonio for fifth.
Bang Angga siapa bang Angga? Ada yang senang bang Angga? Ayo.
Is the fastest rider on circuit, slightly quicker, but Bezzecchi and Fernandez exchanged 1:30.6s. Marquez still stuck in those 1:31s. Jorge Martin said yesterday when he was in the draft of Ayagura, he had issues managing and moderating that front tyre pressure. This is why he's going to get on with this on the inside of Marquez. That's brilliant into turn 3. This is vintage Jorge Martin.
And Aprilia will be licking their lips at this. They now have a 1, 2 and 3. And I know it's still early days, but it's 88 Grand Prix in a row that Ducati have had a rider on the podium. Boy, is that now under some serious threat.
What is going through the mind right now, Massimo?
Come on guys.
He is watching.
Udah bang, udah masuk guys, teman-teman semuanya, udah masuk belum?
Inside the top 3, the top 2 are long gone. I guess the big question mark at the moment is just for how much longer Jorge Martin. He's not exactly fully match fit, a little bit ring rusty.
Yuk, ini udah beberapa teman masuk ya guys, teman beberapa udah masuk ya. Ayo tengok tuh buktinya di bawah ada di people official, masuk beberapa teman. Oke guys, sudah masuk guys teman-teman. Thank you.
We're going to go again, boys, on the brakes into the last corner.
Surely Pedro Acosta knows what's coming here. Surely Marquez knows what's coming here. 37 versus 93 for the second day in a row. Pedro Acosta gets the better of Marquez.
Acosta, bro. Martin getar ya, Martin ya. Down ya, Martin ya.
Of this Grand Prix, he just does have no answer as it stands right now. Is Mark just sort of managing and nursing his pace, saving him eventually? We know that he's still struggling to recover that right shoulder he injured in Mandalika back to 100% fitness. Oh, he charged in there a little bit hard, slipstream.
Izin langganan dulu bang, teman-teman semua, izin langganan yuk.
Right there, just to make sure that there was nobody maybe coming onto the inside.
Yuk guys, mungkin ada yang keluar lagi nanti itu namanya tidak berlangganan ya.
Well, we've been talking of the Aprilia potential throughout the weekend. At the moment, they are running riot in the first Grand Prix of the season, and the world champion Marquez and Ducati are powerless to stop them.
Yeah, they're sort of at one
Come on, guys.
And Martin. Acosta is 3/10 further back. So can Acosta try and gate crash this Aprilia party? There's going to be some wild celebrations if Aprilia do create history. They're on course for a third successive MotoGP win. They're on course for their first ever lockout. Their second round Fernandez in Valencia last year was only their second ever 1-2.
Yeah, this is uncharted territory for Aprilia.
Yo guys, udah gabung guys.
Also for Ducati to not even be in with a snip at the moment of the podium, as we're still in the early stages. Lap 6 of 26 completed with Jorge Martin running in third. He's got a second to make up from Fernandez.
Gimana guys teman-teman? Siapa posisi satu bang? Posisi satu Bazeci, kedua Fernandez, ketiga Martin. Ayo gabung aja langsung bang, nonton bareng-bareng bang, sama-sama bang nontonnya bang. Abang-abang boleh masuk ke channel merah kita. Iya saya kasih lihat, abang-abang masuk ke channel merah kita, YouTube kita, Viewpoint official. Kemudian masuk ke komen di situ bang, subscribe like dulu bang. Subscribe like dulu, yuk. Cepet bang, buruan. Nanti ketinggalan bang, mana linknya nanti di situ saya bagikan bang. Abang masuk dulu ke channel merah saya. Ayo, nggak bisa dibagi di sini linknya. Come on. Come on.
Battle for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Duanmi is not out of contention either. He's now passed Alex Marquez on the Honda, near up into seventh.
Hammer down once again from Bezzecchi. He's just put in his best lap of the Grand Prix.
Come on guys, udah ketinggalan apa nanti nggak dapat. Thank you bang, laporannya makasih banyak.
Scorching up pace at the moment. Bezzecchi's throwing down.
Ayo bang, ketinggalan deh bang, ketinggalan.
Look at the gaps.
Subscribe dulu, like dulu guys, teman-teman.
In fact, he might come under attack. We know how good the braking stability is, particularly straight up and down braking of the KTM in the hands of Pedro Acosta. I get what we're going to get an answer, aren't we, very, very shortly. How big is the improvement been on that factory KTM in
Oke, ayo, yang mau nonton, ayo.
In the sort of last third of Grand Prix, he's just run out of rear rubber. They're confident that they've made the tweaks to give him a bit more durability, a bit more endurance. How much? Well, we're about to find out.
It's not even a one-third distance yet in this Grand Prix. With the three Aprilias on the podium, and I guess your next question would be, where's the other one? It's just gone through the picture there in the form of Ayagura, and he's running in 11th place still after his poor start.
7 lap lagi, baru jalan 7. Bang, kenapa nggak dikeluarkan? Apa yang nggak dikeluarkan bang? Abang join dulu ke akun YouTube kita. Subscribe, like, baru berlangganan di situ ya. Nanti di situ ada tulisan saya lagi live di situ. Ada tulisannya bang di IG saya cantumkan di situ. Ayo, Mario aja udah nggak finish bang, gagal tadi. Ayo, sekarang mau MotoGP bukan MotoGP lagi. Ayo gabung.
21st in this Grand Prix. He's 15 seconds back after 6 laps. Unless something's happened to Maverick, what's happened?
Come on guys, cepet guys.
With 3.5 seconds of extra time up behind Maverick, but he's going to have a job on to score some points from there, unless Riders drop out ahead of him. Well, we're heading towards Acosta corner again. Once again, this is 11 and turn 12. Look at the run Acosta.
Come on, bang.
And once again, he's shaping up for a move, but Martin laid it up on the brakes to fend off the current World Championship leader for now.
Jorge Martin was watching this Grand Prix last year from his bed at home in Andorra, recovering from a whole multiple bunch of injuries he suffered pre-season. But he's on course for his first brilliant podium. Marquez has finally started to up his pace. Mark into the 130s. He's just done his personal best lap of this Grand Prix on 1:30.864, which actually does make him the fastest rider on circuit. The only other rider that's still doing 130s is the rider in second
Ayo
place.
guys, teman-teman, yuk. Yang belum gabung, ikutan gabung terus yuk.
Bezzecchi, I think, would want to be in a rather comfortable position because, of course, when the pressure was put on him yesterday, Marco Bezzecchi blinked. He won't want to blink again today and miss another opportunity.
Yuk, langganan dulu ya guys, langganan dulu ya.
The 37 of Pedro Acosta, but Marquez finally, as we come on to lap 8 26, is starting to warm to the task here.
Yeah, we're in part of the circuit now where Mark's struggling at the moment. He said he's just holding back in these right-handers. The last thing he wants to do is have a tumble on that right shoulder once again. It was a long, painstaking winter rehab for the 7-time world champion. He just wants to bag as many points as he possibly can, get out here unscathed, and have another couple of weeks rest before we get down to Brazil in a couple of weeks' time. Back on board with Acosta. Feels like he's a little bit closer this time around to attack Martin. Yes, he certainly is. Just nicks that inside line ahead of his fellow Spaniard, but he runs it a little bit hard. Surely on the cutback, Martin's going to stick that
guys.
back. He does indeed. We saw that a few times yesterday, didn't we? Between Marquez and Pedro Acosta. It just shows you how hard it is to pass on these modern-day MotoGP bikes, laden with aero and downforce. Martin just knew there, if he come back the inside line, there was no way Acosta was going to make it.
Well, Costa might make it this time. We know that Aprilia is a little faster in a straight line now in 2026. Once again, though, Costa goes in all, and that's bringing Marquez right into play. I don't think Pedro Acosta's losing any hope of chasing after the top two, but frustration must be building here as he just cannot clear Martin.
Martin's braking that late that he knows, but if you're braking as late as me, you ain't stopping. You're going to run wide, so I'll just release the brake and come back to the inside line.
Ayo guys.
Ganging up behind Martin. This is making life somewhat.
Jadi subscribe guys teman-teman, follow, subscribe.
It's never easy to muscle a MotoGP bike around this 4.5.
Marquez kelima.
Tropical conditions. Costa will make the move again. He's just lined this up. Make sure that he's hugging Martin's rear tyre through 9, 10 and 11. Less than half a metre between Martin's rear tyre and Costa's front tyre. Bit of a twist there on the gas coming out of 9, but now surely there'll be another raid on the inside from Acosta on the brakes into 12. How good is Martin this time around on the front end of the Aprilia? I think Acosta's going to go in a little bit hard. He is once again. He has done a phenomenal job to get it stopped. Thought he was going to rush circuit at one point there. Side by side, we go. It's almost 3 of best between Marc Acosta and Martin. Some battle this for third.
But Jorge Martin was under intense race-long pressure here 3 years ago when he won
Marquez ke 5, Peko ke
There have been so much for Jorge Martin after the year and a half he's been through. Acosta attacks again on the inside into turn 3. He's just going to try and hang Martin out to dry, and now Marquez is getting involved.
Well, that's now 3 or 4 times.
Dalam.
Found a way through on Martin, albeit very briefly. Look at this now as they power through the gearbox.
Marquez gila, Marquez.
Fifth. He's now at P3.
He's got his brain in gear, even if his shoulder isn't necessarily at 100%. Brilliant presence of mind.
Class king.
Was able to watch Albano Calder ahead of him and just picked his perfect line
Class
through.
king, Marquez,
and he's now
class
back
king.
into the podium positions.
Yeah, and he's now under pressure from another turn 12 assault from Acosta, isn't he? Acosta goes earlier. He's not even waiting for turn 12. Immediately, he attacks Marc going through 8.
This is Pedro Acosta sending a serious message for the second day in a row to Marc Marquez. Any opportunity I get, I am coming through. I don't care how many world championships you've won.
Yeah, he's not just ruffling feathers right now. This is tearing apart Pedro Acosta. His most prominent victim of several overtakes so far this weekend has been Marc Marquez. Acosta has passed Marc Marquez probably more times this weekend in Thailand than Sunrise have passed Marquez in entire career.
Oh, Acosta had a little bit of a moment on the front there through turn 12, but this is now going to ask some big questions of Jorge Martin, having now lost the third and fourth to Acosta and Marc Marquez. Does Martin have the pace to go with?
Ayo guys, teman-teman, bagi topiknya like, subscribe, dan komen. Yuk masuk ke channel Virgo Indonesia, channel merah.
Marquez is not going to take yesterday lying down, is it? He wants to show Acosta, okay, yeah, you won yesterday, no problem, we move on. He wants revenge here today. He wants to show Acosta just who's the boss. He's not known to want to finish behind the KTM star twice in 2 days.
Well, it's still not even at half race distance, so we've got plenty of this to go. Morirama's produced a blockbuster or two over the years. We are seeing another one here. It might only be for the final podium position, but we're looking at a rivalry which could dominate MotoGP for the next few years. Pedro Acosta versus Marc Marquez, the current king, against the boy who would be king.
2 riders on the podium here last year, Alex Marquez and Paco Bagnaia. Well, at the moment they're P nowhere in this battle at the front. Alex is currently down in 8th place on his factory Ducati GP26 debut. Hasn't really gelled yet, has he, with that lady spec Desmos Adichie. Paco Bagnaia is 9th, of half a second behind Alex. Nothing really going at all. It started to go wrong, didn't it, for Bagnaia when he did get out of that tricky Q1. Further down, we've got Brad Binder inside the top 10. Joan Zarco 13th, winning the interteam battle at LCR as Moreira gets 14th place. This was savvy, wasn't it? Super savvy by Marc Marquez, using all of his 250-odd Grand Prix appearances to full lead, just waiting for all the cameras to bomb ahead of him.
Kenapa bang? Dikit bang, dikit kenapa bang?
He goes behind Martin,
Apanya yang dikit?
by Martin, and then says, thank you very much, I'll take 2 for the price of 1. And that brief.
Ayo guys, teman-teman subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe.
Pedro Costa then holds that third place there. It's not doing high 130s while they're battling here. This was the moment I thought I saw it from the aerial shot. Costa losing the front momentarily into turn 12, just about saved it and held on to that third place. Akiayo, who's usually so unflammable, even he can't watch.
It's all right, Aki, don't worry. Your boy's doing you proud still. He's still there in third place. He's about half a second clear of Marc Marquez. Talking about big advantages. Well, this will be some payback. This is going to be scores settled as far as Bezzecchi's concerned with the Borough circuit, because at the moment he is going to be very, very quickly, for the first time in this Grand Prix, 2 seconds up the road ahead of Fernandez. Fernandez is having a pretty lonely run in second at the moment because he's miles clear of Acosta.
Come on.
Acosta is starting to get marked.
Yeah, keep up with the deep potentially here by Pedro Costa. We're now at half race
Hey
distance,
guys.
lap 13 and 26, so it's a little premature, but I'll say it anyway. Pop the flag out now. Raul Fernandez would lead the MotoGP World Championship to Brazil.
Incredible. A guy who just was so under the radar, wasn't he, throughout winter testing. He kept saying every day that he was really struggling for a time attack, couldn't get any pace out of a soft tyre. Here he is, on course for a front row, third in the sprint, bronze medal, second in the Grand Prix, and the World Championship lead. What do we always say?
Come on, guys.
Never say never. If you have that on your bingo card, 3 for a ramble, congratulations.
It all depends on whether Pedro Acosta beats Marc Marquez or not, as to whether Acosta can keep the championship lead. As we now look at Alex Marquez, who's in a bit of a lonely 8th place at the moment. He's comfortably clear of Pecco Bagnaia. I guess we're in that stage of the race at the moment in this particular group, where they're just giving themselves a little bit of a breather physically, but also giving their front tyre a bit of a breather, because of course if they're right behind another rider, that could potentially lead to some front locking and a crash. So Bagnaia in 9th place, which is where he finished the sprint yesterday, at the moment not leading program with a bucket load of points.
Yeah, and on the 4 GP26 Ducatis on circuit at the moment, it was kind of a theme we saw so often last year, didn't we? Pecco Bagnaia was the wrong end of those factory quartets, because Fabio Di Gianantonio is still there in P6 for VR46. He's about a second though behind Jorge Martin, which is going to be a huge boost for Martin, isn't it? A real massive injection of confidence for the 2024 World Champion. Further down, we just briefly picked up there long Grand Prix winner last year, Joan Zarco, who's winning out in that LCR battle. 1.8 seconds he is up the road ahead of Diogo Moreira. Moreira though on course for points on his MotoGP debut. I think he'd have taken that pre-Grand Prix.
Who are top course points at the moment are Yamaha. Here are their quartet all running. Line astern, Quartararo, Miller, Rins and Toprak, 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th, with only Maverick Vinales and Michele Ferro behind them. Quartararo is 19.5 seconds off the race lead after 13 laps of racing.
Some serious humble pie available for Yamaha tonight.
Hayo.
New V4 powered M1, which Quartararo and all the Yamaha riders were pinning so many hopes on it being a major performance enhancement in 2026. Well, it's not even as competitive as the inline force. There wasn't a struggling for horsepower, struggling for top speed, a multitude of sins on that new V4. Patience is not a virtue that MotoGP riders.
Come on guys, come on, subscribe, like, dan komen dulu guys.
Sort of waiting.
Klik langganan ya guys, teman-teman ya. Di klik langganan ya, di klik langganan.
4, 5, 6 Grand Prix into a new campaign, which looks like the next upgrade for the V4 Yamaha. It might not be until we're well into Europe at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans. Fabio Quartararo's home round the course.
Toprak's going well though, the quartet and Yamaha's together, so Toprak's running similar lap times as the trio ahead of him. There's around about 2 seconds
langganan guys.
Yamaha, so Toprak definitely not being dropped by Quartararo, Miller and Rins. The field though being dropped here by Marco Bezzecchi, whose lead is 2.5 seconds now over Raul Fernandez. Acosta might well have that third place under control then over Marc Marquez, and now having cleared Marc Marquez, be able to keep Raul Fernandez at bay. There's your confirmation. With the Costa now ahead of Marquez, he would still have a 1-point lead.
Is there a shifting in the balance of power in the MotoGP World Championship? Ducati have run riot over the last 3 or 4 years, haven't they? World Championship success, Pecco Bagnaia twice, Jorge Martin and Marquez. They have ruled the roost, but their domination looks like it's going to come under some serious threat in 2026. A threat which was certainly looming large in the second half of last season. Going into this year, Massimo Riva said, we believe finally we put together a package which can not just race but beat Ducati on a regular basis. I think it's fair to say back in Borgo Panigale, Gigi Ligna's army of 10 boffins, the school report after round 1 will be must do better.
Yeah, look out at the podium with Ducati have been on a podium. Let's go back to the 2021 British Grand Prix, the last podium which did not feature a Ducati rider. We are around about 10 laps away from that run after 5 years of MotoGP action coming to an end. Unless Marquez could do something heroic, which he has done a lot of over the years, or if someone drops out ahead of him, because Costa is now 1 point clear. And Marquez hasn't exactly got Jorge Martin coming yet.
He hasn't. Mark's last lap was a 1:31.4. In response to that, Martin with a 1:31.1. So, yes, it's not even a given at the moment that Mark's going to be taking those 13 points for 4th place. This is the battle at the bottom end of the top 10. It's Brad Binder versus Ayagura. It's Binder at the moment that is in 10th place.
Oh, he's not.
He's not. Into turn 4 goes Agura. That move was coming on the last lap. Agura was 3/10 quicker than the South African.
Yeah, how far could Agura get? Because we know the bike he's on is plenty fast enough, because they're 1st, 2nd and 5th at the moment in the Grand Prix. So Agura around 10. He's got around half a second to catch up to Bagnaia, assuming that Brad Binder doesn't launch a counter-attack. Then you see right
Udah bang, sakit matanya bang, Pari. Pari, tengok mata dia sakit, udah.
He's trying to pick his way up, so if he can make some late moves and hold his tiring, then a potential
Udah, dengar nggak?
Aston, Bagnaia, Alex, Mir, Gian Antonio ahead of him. We're going to go up to Jorge Martin for the next ride that's offering better pace at the moment than Agura-san. 3 seconds then now is the lead for Bezzecchi. It has been an emphatic response to what was a roller coaster Saturday yesterday. A crash in FP2, even though the fact he did set the best time. A crash in qualifying, even though he was on pole position. And then he was leading the sprint. He crashed out of contention. Marco Bezzecchi, well, this is some response. 3 seconds clear of Raul Fernandez now.
3 seconds the lead, and Bezzecchi's in a position now where he doesn't have to take 100% risks. He can ride at 99% now, or maybe even lower it a little bit more. With 3.3 seconds in his pocket, Raul Fernandez is not going to catch him from there unless something dramatic happens to Marco Bezzecchi. So the pressure which forced an error from him in the sprint isn't really on Marco Bezzecchi's shoulders here. So from a point of view of a weekend where he's left a lot of points on the table, it would take something seriously dramatic for Bezzecchi to blow it from here.
History in his hands. Never before hasn't a Pirelli rider won 3 successive Grand Prix. Heady times these, aren't they, for the Nawali factory? Only 20 riders previously in MotoGP history. This is season number 78 and won 3 Grand Prix in a row. Surely he's not going to flop his lines again. Normally when Marco Bezzecchi's got himself into this kind of situation, he's proven unflappable. That's another lap in the books. You can see there was that sort of charge around lap sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, where he sort of broke any kind of resistance that was being offered by Fernandez.
That's 4 consecutive 1:31.1s from Marco Bezzecchi. Another rider who just did a 1:31.1 is Marquez, who is digging deep. The world champion never knows when he's beaten, and he is still trying to claw himself back onto terms with Pedro Acosta. He's cut the gap by 4/10 on that lap. Here it is, that battle for 3rd place. Marquez has not given up on a podium yet.
Just words not in his vocabulary, are they? Give up. He never surrenders. Marquez climbed all the way back to the top of the mountain. Had an unbelievable personal journey for Mark, from the pain, the despair of the horrific injury back in 2020 through just sheer will got himself, self-determination, self-motivation, got himself back to the top of the championship. But I think he already knows he's going to acknowledge post-race that he has got an almighty fight in his hands, if he is, to become just the second rider in history to join Italian legend Giacomo Agostini as an 8-time MotoGP world champion.
And this is the phase of the race where we are going to get that definitive answer as to KTM's progress, if there is some, on a used tyre, because it's in this phase of the race now. We've completed 17 of the 26 laps, 2/3 race distance completed, and we're now into the danger zone where the tyres starting to wear away, the rubber's getting flipped off those Michelin tyres, and KTM will be hoping that they still have some grip left once we get to the checkered flag.
It's not a given here that Gian Antonio, who has never really figured in the podium battle at all, he's been a bit of a letdown, hasn't he, to be fair, did you, in this Grand Prix so far? And not a given he's going to cling on to the top 6 here, because Joan Mir on the factory Honda piling the pressure on behind him on that last lap. Yet Gian Antonio has dropped into the 32s. He's the only rider in the top 7 that's faded into those 132s. Have to say, expected much more from the Italian in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, you can see how difficult he was finding it to get it stopped. This is Agura versus Bagnaia. So Agura now up into 9th place. His charge of the order. He's left it a little late, but it is now coming. And Agura now up into 9th place. And you have to say, further grounded, particularly Gian Antonio, given where they generally qualified and the fact that they've probably got the 4th fastest bike here this weekend. If Mir can secure a top 6 for Honda, they'll be very pleased with that.
Yeah, I think they acknowledged pre-Grand Prix that there's been steps forward on the Honda RC213V, but they are still pulled a little bit by some wheel spin issues, not quite getting the optimal drive grip on gas, and of course around this Murray circuit where you really can burn up and chew up your rear tyre in the long car acceleration zones. Well, wheel spin is a key factor, so this has been a stellar job so far by Mir.
I think Rafa Fernandez has made a mistake on this lap. He's lost 0.3 of a second in the second sector somewhere to Acosta and Marquez. His advantage was 1.5, it's now 1.2. Gian Antonio's advantage over Joan Mir is absolutely nothing, and the 2020 world champion is now into the top 6.
That's been coming, that has been coming. Mir says thank you very much. Back in the 32s, everybody, man and machine right now, screaming for mercy, aren't they? But Seki, Fernandez, Acosta and Mark are the only 4 riders now that are able to keep themselves anywhere near the 131s. The fair play to Bez, Acosta and Mark, 131.2s, 131.3s. Quickest rider on circuit at the moment is Acosta.
Yeah, Rafa Fernandez is hemorrhaging time all of a sudden. As I said, it was 1.3 seconds or so his advantage in start last time. He came down to a second. It's now already down to 0.8 of a second through the first sector on this lap. So it's Rafa Fernandez, the rider, who started to wilt in his closing stages. Remember, he was in pain at the end of warm-up this morning.
Yeah, and he's now on lap 20 of 26. Oh, dear me, yeah, he was quite clearly in a lot of discomfort at the end of this morning's warm-up session. Well, at the moment, he's fading like a pair of cheap old curtains, isn't he, Rafa Fernandez?
Come on.
He's suffering big time. There's no way that he's going to hang on to this podium. I mean, he's losing time hand over fist here. Already in sectors 2 and 3, Acosta's gobbled him up by 0.4 of a second. Well, this is going to be cruel for Rafa Fernandez because he's ridden immaculately. He has ridden a brilliant Grand Prix. But physically, technically, whatever, something is potentially ending Rafa Fernandez's podium hopes. Let's not wind him up too prematurely, but he's got it all on to hang on to the top 3 here.
Yeah, 132.2 on that last lap for Rafa Fernandez, as you can see up on your screens. Pedro Acosta still in the 31s. Marquez is once again the fastest rider on track, doing a 31.4 on the last lap. Although I'm pretty sure Marco Bezzecchi is just pacing himself at the front of the field and could go faster if he needs to. If Rafa Fernandez has any extra pace up his sleeve, now is the time to find it.
Acosta gains a few metres more in the braking zone as I go, and then now it's going to have the inside line, and Alex Marquez into that turn 3, picks up the runner-up in both the sprint and the Grand Prix.
Ayo guys, bantu support, tap, di subscribe, di like ya guys teman-teman semua. Yang mau nonton langsung masuk ke media kita, like, subscribe.
Going into turn 4, he's got a problem. He's got a puncture. Marquez. Well, that could have really been disastrous. Wow.
Bannya bocor guys.
The tires come off the rim. Right,
Bannya bocor.
Wow, Marquez then had just set a 131.4. What on earth?
Ban bocor guys.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Marquez's Michelin rear tyre has come off the rim here. I mean, he's lucky there that he didn't get shots off that. That is so fortunate because that could have been horrendous. Mark could have been thrown off that factory Ducati. It's fucking Bronco. He's looking down there.
Wah, mana bocor.
What's gone on here?
Yeah, look at the damage to the rim there. But it was even slower. Look at that. The rim is damaged. And obviously the tyre is just completely damaged. Come off the rim altogether. Marquez is out of the Thai Grand Prix. And he will not be standing on the podium today. And Ducati's podium streak is surely at an end.
Never seen anything like that. In more than one place, there were huge dents in the rim on Marquez's factory Ducati.
Gawat,
There's
gawat.
nothing he could have taken on circuit there that's going to cause that kind of damage. What on earth has gone on there for Marquez?
There's some big questions asked of Ducati at the end as to what happened there, whether it's something down to the extreme heat here or whether he has caught some debris somewhere. As it is then, we've got a two-rider fight and it's released a little bit of pressure off Ralph Fernandez. The podium's now not under threat, but second place still very much is.
That's cruel in the extreme. Rotten look for Mark, but good look as well. That could have been a nightmare.
And he took out a Costa as well.
Went through turn 4 there. It's the third.
Alex Marquez is now dropping down our screens. Alex Marquez, I think he's now dropping out of this Grand Prix. You can see his name tumbling down. As well as the fight for second place. Alex Marquez has crashed, so we've lost the two Marquez brothers in consecutive laps here.
On that run down through that turn 4, Mark's motoring at about 200 miles per hour when he tips in. And then to have that catastrophic failure on the rear of that Ducati, there's going to be a major inquest, isn't it? Conducted by Ducati long into the evening and beyond here in Burran, because we've never seen anything quite like that. You can clearly see there was massive damage to more than one part of that rim.
Yeah, Alex Marquez is down at turn 4. He is also out of this Grand Prix.
Crash, Marquez jatuh, bukan jatuh, ban bocor.
Martin Ford.
Aneh-aneh aja ban
First
bocor.
Ducati, it's Fabio Di Giannantonio, but he's 14 seconds off the race lead.
Unbelievable. Here comes Acosta, then he's coming from a long way back on Ralph Fernandez. This has been coming. Fernandez thought about just darting back to the inside, and I think already there you can see Raul was having a long look over his right shoulder just to see if there's any competition emerging behind me. There's a look at a big screen there as well. Look at that, Costa just gaps him immediately. He's clinging on for dear life at the moment, isn't he, Ralph Fernandez?
Yeah, he'll just be settling down for that third place and hoping that he's got enough of a cushion. 4.6 seconds over Jorge Martin. Yeah, that was Alex Marquez losing it into turn 4. So what a rotten Sunday this has been for the Marquez brothers. Oh, now he's slowing down.
That was apparently got a tyre problem. We're hearing in our ears that there's a tyre
John Mir,
problem as
John
well
Mir.
for Juan Mir. This tight Grand Prix, we said pre-race is taking place in some of the most demanding conditions of the entire season. Apparently Mir's had an issue with the rear tyre as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not deflated completely, is it? Because he's not running along the floor like a fucking broker. This is Di Giannantonio and Agura. Agura could get fifth place here in the Grand Prix. We could have 4 Aprilias in the top 5.
This has been, well, it's now just a race of survival.
Wah,
It's just who
Marquez
can stay upright
Fernandez.
and who can see the checkered flag right now, isn't it?
Bocor mana?
At the front, Marco Bezzecchi with 3 to go is a commanding 5.6 seconds clear now of Pedro Acosta. Yeah, Ralph Fernandez is really suffering. He's now back into the 33s. The good news is for Ralph Fernandez fans is that he's got what should be a good enough of a margin over Martin in 4th place to hold on to what would be a podium as justice for him. The way he's feeling, it would be cruel for Raul to lose the podium so late on. He's 4.3 seconds up the road clear of Martin.
Yeah, he's doing 33s though, so he does need to be a little bit careful. Ducati's last hope in the top 6 this Grand Prix as Agura comes through to reduce Di Giannantonio now to 6th place. Agura through to 5th. Ducati's hopes have melted like an ice lolly in the Burran sunshine today.
Marc Marquez got away one at turn 4 as the rear end of his factory Ducati gave up the ghost. Alex Marquez not so lucky when he went down at high speed. Mark then trudges into the back of the factory Ducati garage. I mean, that was a major malfunction, wasn't it? Juan Mir, we've lost Marc Marquez from 4th, we've lost Juan Mir from 6th. Yeah, it is. Jack just saying to us, confirming what we suspected it was. It's a rear tyre problem as well then for Juan Mir. Split through the middle of it then apparently. Here is Marco Marco Bezzecchi then. Surely there's no more late drama and no more late fireworks. After all that hard work, after all that effort, Marc Marquez suffers late heartache here in Burram. It was a fairy tale factory Ducati debut here, wasn't it, 1 year ago, when he cleaned up with the pole, sprint and Grand Prix treble. Look at this. This was scary. That was so scary.
Absolutely no warning too to have that mid-corner Marquez. This is how it felt from on board. As he goes up the curve, look at it like an absolute bucking bronco, and Marc Marquez just desperately trying to wrestle that bike to a stop.
That rear tyre popped off the rim and he was doing over 170 kilometres an hour. Just thank your lucky stars, Mark, that somehow you didn't get pitched over the handlebars there, because that would have been huge. That would have been huge, because he would have picked him over there. He would have been a high side.
Yeah, Marc Marquez, he won't feel like it now because he's lost a bucket load of points, but he has got away with one from a physical point of view. But Pretty will be sort of watching this through the gaps in their fingers now, having seen problems for a Ducati and problems for a Honda in these scorching, punishing late conditions. We've never seen a Grand Prix quite like this in terms of the strain on rider, machine and on rubber, but Marco Bezzecchi has one more lap to close a victory, which since Friday morning has been on the cards for Aprilia.
The coolest cucumber in the excruciating heat of Thailand has been Marco Bezzecchi. He is now 4.5 kilometres away from history. Never before has an Aprilia rider won 3 Grand Prix in a row. It's going to be a dream start to his third season in MotoGP for Pedro Acosta. He's going to be the sprint winner and second here in the Grand Prix. Ralph Fernandez, he can barely hang on to that RSGP. Look at the angle of his body there. He really is suffering. Big start here. Ralph Fernandez just is praying to see the checkered flag. The longest 26 laps of his life, no doubt about that.
I think they're all praying for the checkered flag here. We've got Agurafin, did you see? Big today, then Morbidelli, Marini, Zarco, Bastianini, Moreira, Quattararo will score a couple of points for Yamaha. Look at the centre of that rear tyre for Marco Bezzecchi. That doesn't look in particularly great shape either, but he has half a lap still to go.
Michelin said pre-race that this Burram circuit is brutal. Long acceleration zones, yeah, you can see clearly there's significant wear, isn't there, on the middle of Marco Bezzecchi's slick rear tyre. I mean, I don't think Marco Bezzecchi...
It's glad this isn't 27 laps.
That's going to feel like a pogo stick underneath him. He's barely at full throttle. He's barely any kind of throttle. No lean angle through 11. Thankfully, Marco Bezzecchi can tour here into the final corner because he's got no rear tyre left whatsoever. But Marco Bezzecchi bounces back quite brilliantly in Burram. After all the disappointments of crashing out the lead in the sprint from pole position, he does create history. Marco Bezzecchi, the first Aprilia rider in MotoGP to win 3 successive Grand Prix. Pedro Acosta caps off a stunning first Grand Prix weekend of the season for the Spaniard and KTM. The winner of the sprint, second in the Grand Prix, and somehow, having set the best time in this morning's warm-up session, Ralph Fernandez does nurse himself back to the checkered flag in third place. A long way back at the end. 2 Aprilias, though, on the podium. 4 Aprilias in the top 5 after Ayagura capitalised on some late drama for Marc Marquez and Juan Mir.
Marquez
catastrophic technical failure late on for Marc Marquez when he was running 4th. Confirmation on the screens, though, the first ever Aprilia rider to win 3 successive Grand Prix. Well, the first to congratulate Bez is his trash-talking buddy Pecco Bagnaia. Marco Bezzecchi, after all the criticism yesterday, all the noise about crashing out the sprint, well, he's done his talking today on the track. 5 seconds. Martin takes a superb 4th. Agura 5th. Top 6 for the Gian Antonio. Top 10 for Binder, Morbidelli, Bagnaia and Marini. Points for Zarco, Bastianini. Diogo Moreira points on his MotoGP debut 13th. Fabio Quattararo 14th. Alex Rins 15th. But the sprint was dramatic. The Grand Prix had plenty of drama as well. What a start for MotoGP in 2026. Wow, we need a dark room to lie down in very quickly.
So do 22 MotoGP riders. That was punishing for man and machine, as we saw. Pedro Acosta does get himself closer to an unwanted record. He won't care about that right now. He leads the MotoGP World Championship as Marco Bezzecchi is going to don some Muay Thai clothing to celebrate this victory. Aprilia with a major statement of strength in the first Grand Prix of the season. First, third, fourth and fifth. And although Frankie Morbidelli did make some late progress, he took 2 places on the last lap, and Gian Antonio and the other Fiat Bodies Ducati took 6. Ducati's 88 race streak, unbroken streak of podiums, is broken in Buriram today.
That was an awesome performance by Marco Bezzecchi. Absolutely.
Selebrasinya guys.
To block out the 3 crashes of yesterday. Got the whole shot, established an early lead, and, well, he never looked back, that he was never really in any kind of danger. That's how you bounce back in adverse situations. We can clearly see late on, I mean, he was at Moto3 pace, was he, in that final sector? I mean, of course, he was able to roll off, but I'm not too sure how many more laps Marco Bezzecchi's mixing a rear tyre that could have gone. Well, 24 hours in MotoGP is a long old time, isn't it? From heartache yesterday, crashing out the lead in the sprint, it is pure elation now for the factory and Britain. 4th place in the top 5. Massimo Rivera, but he can't contain himself, Jack.
Yeah, unsurprised that there's a pretty big smile on the face of Massimo. What a response that is from Marco after the disappointment of yesterday, and 4 bites in the top 5 to start the year. That's quite something.
Okay, the disappointment is still there because yesterday was another day and we lost points. I think that it's clear that we had the best package here. Honestly, I'm super happy for Marco because mentally it was not easy, but he just did everything perfect. I'm super happy for Jorge if I think where it was a couple of weeks ago, and he missed the 1 season. Impressive again, the way he recovered, but a special applause to Raul, because after what happened this morning in the warm-up with the shoulder, I was not sure he could finish the race, so quite a strong package.
Congratulations, a lot to be happy about.
Yeah, thank you.
Quite a strong package, the factory at Brit. I think that's the understatement of the year so far. Pedro Acosta is going to go to round 2, our first visit to Brazil since 2004 as the MotoGP World Championship leader. No wonder he's got so much to celebrate, a massive smile on his face. First and second, I think he came into this opening Grand Prix weekend soon that maybe it was going to be in a Aprilia Ducati route. He might just about be able to stick his nose into fight. Well, he did more than stick it in there. He probably thrust it in there, didn't he? 32 points is the points all as far as Acosta is concerned. Last year in Phillip Island, Ducati lost their streak of successive front rows, which was 99 in a row. What was the Silverstone 2021 podium? It was Alex Rins on the Suzuki, Alexis Torrego on the Aprilia, and Fabio Quartararo winning on the Yamaha. That was the last time we had no Ducati on a podium. Plenty to ponder for Gigi Dall'Igna as Marco Bezzecchi. That's brilliant. That was a brilliant victory for Bez. First Aprilia rider than ever to win 3 in a row. The 21st rider in MotoGP history to win 3 races in a row. You feel that Aprilia in particular, but Marco Bezzecchi and Pedro Acosta have laid a marker in the sand here this weekend. Ducati, we're coming for you.
Ducati now need to respond. It's very rare that we see the boys from Borgo Panigale on their back foot, but they certainly are when we head to Brazil in 3 weeks' time. Marcmarquez leads the first Grand Prix of the season with just the 9 points for second in the sprint yesterday, as Marco Bezzecchi, rather than getting angry, he got even in Thailand today.
Ciao tutti, buongiorno. Well, I'm sure there's a few fans back at home in Europe and Italy in the early morning. Grateful for the wake-up prize from Marco Bezzecchi. I mean, was it ever really any kind of doubt? It was a masterclass. It was an exhibition stuff really at times from Bez. I mean, he won it by 5.5 seconds, but he was at snail's pace in that final sector. Pecco Bagnaia, 9th in the sprint, 9th in the Grand Prix. This was late drama, wasn't it?
Corner of the race.
Frankie Morbidelli picking off Pecco in the last corner. Well, I guess there's one crumb of comfort for Bagnaia. He's finally seen a checkered flag in a Grand Prix for the first time since the end of September. But 9th place on a factory Ducati, that ain't cutting it.
Now, Ducati in both sides of the box. They were pretty miserable weekend. Marc Marquez looked like he was on course to salvage at least a third place from that. Might well have been better.